Welcome to LearnFast Australia. My name is Colin Klupik. I'm talking here with Clinical Director Devon Barnes. The discussion today is about auditory processing. Devon, by this I take it we mean hearing.
Not exactly, Colin. There is a distinction between hearing acuity, which is the very softest sound you can hear across the range of frequencies that the human ear can detect, basically up to 8,000 hertz. Whereas auditory processing refers to what the brain does with what it hears. So it is completely separate to hearing. Obviously, you do have to hear first. But many children have perfectly normal hearing acuity, but have a lot of difficulty with how they are processing information. Many children with this difficulty have particular problems in classrooms, ignoring the background noise. So when they're needing to listen to the teacher, if there's any extraneous noise, and we know in many classrooms there are, furniture moving, other children talking, even fans overhead or traffic moving outside, that can interfere with the child's ability to process the teacher's instructions. Some children have a difficulty with the discrimination of speech sounds. They can't hear the difference between t and k or p and b. Now, they can hear the sounds, but they can't discriminate between them. That is another aspect of auditory processing. Some children have a difficulty, or some people have a difficulty, localizing sound. So they can hear the sound, but they can't detect where that sound is coming from. That is another example of an auditory processing difficulty.
So it comes really down to language skills in the end. I mean, people need to learn how to communicate. So what you're saying is that the ability to actually just hear correctly makes an enormous difference to someone's ability to actually develop a language skill.
Absolutely. Hearing is fundamental to learning language. If a child does not have hearing, it cannot learn language without a huge amount of effort. So the very first thing we have to check with our children is if their hearing is stable. What the brain then needs to do is be able to clearly perceive the sounds of the language the child is immersed in, referred to as the mother tongue. A child will learn whatever language it hears. So if you're born into a Chinese-speaking family, you will learn Chinese. If you are born into an English-speaking family, you will learn English. The brain has an equal capacity to learn whatever language the child hears. Across languages, there are about 160 different speech sounds known as phonemes. In English, we use 44 of those speech sounds. As the child is babbling, your infant is babbling, they will rehearse many of those phonemes that we hear across languages. But we will only recognise sounds that we can attach to meaning. So when the baby's babbling away and cooing and gooing, and then it finally one day goes da 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 with no thought that that means anything, we as the parents get excited and reinforce that dada and say, oh, he said dada, and we shape that sound into meaning. That's how we learn language. The babbling of babies is then shaped into language by reinforcing the sounds of the mother tongue. So obviously, if a baby can't hear language, it can't develop those language skills.
And so modern treatments for hearing, have they been able to help?
Absolutely. One of the most important things that's happened in Australia in the last 5 years is the provision of the newborn infant hearing screening program. Every baby born in Australia now has its hearing checked before it leaves hospital. Now you might wonder, how do they test the hearing in a newborn baby? This is done by inserting a very small little probe into the baby's ear. The baby can be fast asleep, and a sound is presented, and the instrument just records the baby's brain's response to sound. If we see that the baby's brain is not responding to sound, we might suspect that the baby has a hearing loss. So right from birth, we can then check that baby and make sure it gets all the appropriate help that it needs. Not only that, there are many programs to remediate auditory processing difficulties, and again, distinguishing hearing from auditory processing. If a child has a hearing loss, the Australian government provides a free service for all children with hearing loss to be provided with hearing aids if necessary, or cochlear implants, which is an innovation in the last 20 years. If a child has a profound hearing loss, we can actually virtually give them an artificial inner ear or cochlea, which then enables the brain to receive sound which it couldn't have done otherwise.
That's fantastic news for babies. Devon Barnes.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Colin.